town.
Good evening. This is Ann Fordori, and I'm on the music faculty of the University of Nebraska at Kearney. And we're following through, as we have the last couple concerts, with something we're calling Intermission Interviews to help you pass the time while we're waiting for the aerosols to clear on stage. Today we're going to speak with two people. The first is Jacob Cahill, who has just performed his saxophone concerto. Jacob is a sophomore at UNK, and he was the winner of the UNK Concerto Aria competition, which is a terrific honor, and so he got to perform with the orchestra. But now he'll put on another hat in the second half of the concert and play oboe in the rest of the concert. So let's talk to Jacob here a little bit about what it was like to win the concerto competition and how long did he work on that work and did he enjoy the experience of playing as a soloist with the orchestra?
It was great. It's something I've never done before. Playing in front of an orchestra is something I've always dreamed about doing but never had the experience to. I started preparing the piece last spring with Dr. Nab. I originally planned to do all three movements, but due to COVID restrictions and the cut ensemble, it just didn't seem to work. But I'm very happy that I got to do the first two movements, and it was just an honor to get chosen.
It's pretty exciting to go through an opportunity like that. So let's talk about the second half of the concert now, and let's talk about the other hat you wear, and that is as oboist with the orchestra. So maybe an obvious question would be, what is the difference between playing a single reed and a double reed instrument? And are you finding for playing oboe that you're spending your life making and perfecting reeds?
Oboe's very different than saxophone. Obviously, the double reed adds a little more pressure and tension. The fingerings are the same, but the air support, air speed, entirely different. I can relax a little more when I play saxophone, but I always got to be a little bit on edge playing oboe, just make sure I'm playing in tune, giving enough support. But my oboe teacher, Heidi Farrell, the principal oboe of KSO, she's a great teacher and she helps me along.
And so what kind of repertoire are you learning on oboe?
Right now I'm just started the Three Romances by Schumann, and last semester we played the concerto for oboe and orchestra by Lebrun.
Oh, great. And if I'm not mistaken, you also are studying flute.
Yes. I'm actually doing a double primary here on flute and saxophone, and oboe's a secondary. Dr. Nab and Franziska Breck and Heidi Farrell have all been really good about helping me set up my degree program to fit what I want to do with my life.
And so what do you think that will be when you finish?
When I'm done here, I want to go get a graduate degree in woodwind doubling. Trying to go to Indiana University. That'd be incredible. I want to play in Broadway pit orchestras and eventually maybe be like Dr. David Nab and teach woodwinds at a university someday.
Teach multiple woodwinds.
Yes.
And so do you find it exhilarating, confusing, frustrating, all of the above, to switch back and forth? Have you played in a pit yet where you've doubled?
Yes. I played in high school. I played in Mary Poppins, and I did saxophone and clarinet. I've played in Willy Wonka. I did English horn and oboe there. I also played cello in high school for Newsies once, and that was interesting.
So that's keeping a lot of reeds wet at once to
Yeah,
go back and forth.
It's hard.
In instruments. That's great. Do you have, I shouldn't ask if you have a favorite instrument now, or is the one you're playing well at the time your favorite instrument?
Saxophone's my favorite to play just because it's what I started on and it's what I'm best at, I think. I really like to listen to the English horn, though. It's the prettiest instrument I know, I think.
I think having conducted some of the pits for musicals here, I'm always amazed by the students who can double and have one instrument on their lap and the next one on a stand and a third one in their hands, and it all seems pretty amazing to me. So when you came in, did you think that you might want to play multiple woodwinds? Was that your intention in your degree?
Yes. I was originally gonna go to Indiana for they have an undergraduate for multiple woodwinds there, and I was really excited to do that, but because of money and just life, Dr. Nab helped me get stuff sorted out here so that I could study multiple woodwinds and still get a degree that will help me go on to my master's in that.
Oh, that's great. Well, I think we'll be ready to hear you in the second half of the concert. Thank you for speaking to us today, and good luck to you with your multiple instruments and career plans, Jacob.
Thank you.
Good evening. We're back again, and this time we're speaking to Dr. Alison Gaines, who is the music director and conductor of KSO. And I'm going to ask her a little bit about the repertoire for this concert. We're still doing our COVID safety way of programming by choosing pieces that sort of reflect families of instruments. So you want to tell us a little bit about how we came up with this program?
Well, this is our third Families of Instrument programs. The KSO board had approved a program for the concerts for this year pre-COVID, so everything has had to change. It ended up being for us that the solution was doing instrument families on concerts. And it's been great to explore some repertoire that maybe I didn't know. I know my string repertoire, but I didn't know wind and then the brass and percussion repertoire as well. And I'm really learning a lot and being introduced to some wonderful pieces.
Could you tell us a little bit about how you found the Steinmetz piece that's on tonight's performance?
I felt like I was running out of things that would suit us because I would have loved to do, for example, the Dvorak Wind Serenade, which is an incredibly beautiful piece of music, but it requires four horns and contrabassoon and, So there was plenty of great music that just didn't quite suit us. And I ended up stumbling upon the Steinmetz, just surfing YouTube for wind music. And it turns out he lives in the town I first lived in when I went to USC. And I ended up going ahead and programming the piece and then reaching out and contacting him. And he's a really interesting fellow who writes very well.
And hopefully our listening audience has had the opportunity to listen to the words he spoke about that piece that was in our first break of the evening, speaking about the piece that you all played this evening. Can you tell us a little bit about what's upcoming with the American in Paris and this arrangement that may be unfamiliar to us?
Well, it's a little bit abbreviated, but I've been wanting to do this piece for so long. It's so vivid and full of energy and vibrancy and so many wonderful melodies. And the idea of the whole concert being sort of a Gershwin sandwich was kind of nice because the strings are opened with Gershwin also. So this gave our brass and percussionists a chance to play a really terrific piece that we might not be able to play as a full orchestra. And it also gives our audience a chance to hear a piece that we might not be able to do as a full orchestra.
And you mentioned the Gershwin sandwich. I like that the first piece for strings that you played this evening also appears in a short opera of his called Blue Monday. So as a singer, that's pretty interesting to me.
I did not know that. Well, he wrote that lullaby for strings specifically, which was not typical of Gershwin. He generally, not unlike Ravel, would write for the piano first and then decide what medium it was going to come in. But this one went right to string orchestration, and it was one of the last pieces he wrote before he passed.
Could you tell us a little bit about where you found the Della Gioia piece, the other string piece this evening?
I had experienced that piece when I sometimes judge or serve as a clinician for high school competitions, high school festivals. And it's, simple form. It's not incredibly technically demanding, but it's like concise, I think, is the way I would put it. There's no filler. There's nothing in the piece that doesn't seem to connect to the next thing to the next thing. It's well balanced, and it's really a lovely piece.
And as Old Man Winter sometimes gets the best of us, you've had 2 rehearsals that you had to cancel because the university was closed for inclement weather. And how does that challenge you as a conductor to use your time wisely and get the music rehearsed?
Well, I try to be very organized in terms of, how much time am I going to need to get this section together? How much, of course, there's all the COVID restrictions, so how much space do I need for a rehearsal? How long can we stay in a room? Will I get what I need done in that time? And having 2 rehearsals for this concert canceled is it's kind of scary, but I have to say I'm so lucky to have so many capable people in the orchestra that can maybe do sections with people. That's something that's unique about Kearney Symphony as far as on-campus groups, is that it's a mixture of community and student players. And we're so lucky to have some faculty that can step in if we need a group to go to another room and work out just low brass or high brass. We have so many fantastic faculty and so many fine musicians in the community, like our concertmaster Connie Moon, Jeff Stelling, who owns Stelling Woodwind and Brass. We're just really fortunate in this orchestra to have a wonderful balance of really advanced, professionally experienced players and teachers, and a mix of all that great energy that we get from the students.
And that's a great tradition with KSO, that we employ musicians from the outside to come in and fill in sections and provide leadership for the orchestra, and student participants. That gives them both great working experience to be working with, for the students to be working with other professionals as well. So another concert of instruments, families, and what can we look forward to? Can you give us a little peek into what the April concert will be? I won't ask you to divulge it all at once, but do you have any words about the April concert?
Well, one thing that is great about playing at the Merriman, there's many great things, but one of them is that it's actually a larger stage than we have here. So I am excited to officially announce that we will be playing a world premiere of a piece that was commissioned for KSO by our own Dr. Anthony D'Onofrio. And I am not going to divulge a lot about that piece, but I will say I think the audience is going to be intrigued by it. And I am so excited because I got to do my first ever premiere last year when we did the Robert Gross saxophone concerto, but this is my first time commissioning one and watching the process, at least, from a little distance. I didn't want a crowd, Tony, but it was great to occasionally talk to him and talk to some of the solo instruments, instrumentalists that he wants to feature in it. I will say that it does feature our own Aaron Beeve very heavily, that piece. And if you're familiar with Charles Ives's Unanswered Question, Dr. D'Onofrio said that it is a bit of a sort of a tip of the hat to that piece. So that is the teaser I will give you. The other benefit of the large stage is we'll be able to start mixing instruments. So Dr. D'Onofrio's piece has one brass player, a couple percussionists, winds, 8 winds, and then strings. We also last year had to cancel our Merriman concert in April because of COVID, and we took we weren't able to do 2 pieces that I feel like we were all very excited about. One was the last movement of the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto. We all wanted our own Josh Wedovic to be able to play because he won the concerto competition, or he was one of our winners, and he's graduating this semester. And
so he'll get to
he will get to do it
That's
before
great.
he leaves. We were very worried, and we are just going to sort of plan the rest of the concert around that. I won't say any more, but I've got a great piece in mind. One of Tchaikovsky's best is what I have in mind for another piece on the
Well,
program.
that's just enough to whet our appetite. Well, we look forward to the second half of the concert with American in Paris. Thank you.
Thank you.